Hi guys, welcome to another episode of BudgIT Podcast. My name is Nancy. Good to have you join us as always. I'm really excited about this particular episode here. And if you've been following us closely, you would know that September is really September to remember for BudgIT because it was the Big 10. And speaking about the Big 10, I have two special guests joining me in the studio today. Now, you know when they say the super duo, the people behind BudgIT, the reason why we are here, the the men them. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the lead director and co-founder Oluseun Onigbinde and the chief technical officer and co-founder of BudgIT, Joseph Agunbiade. Good to have you join us, guys.
All right, thank you, Messi.
Yes, thank you, Messi. My head is just
The men them.
Nancy, yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure here today.
So how are you feeling? I know from Mr. Sheung, we start by I feel so excited. I feel excited. So let me just run it. How are you guys feeling this month, this September?
I feel so excited. I'm a bit exhausted, you know.
Okay.
But I feel excited. I would say that always. That we have been able to make change happen in our own little corner. We've been able to steer the space and bring results and being able to deliver value to stakeholders, people, citizens, governments, communities beyond Nigeria. Inspire also young people to try out and do great things. So there's excitement, and I feel like it just look like 10 years just flew by, but just like that. But I take it all in, and I'm grateful with the BudgIT of today. That it is ready to go for the next 10, 20, 30 years. That gets me excited.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, so I equally feel excited, like Sheung said. The feeling is one of, looking back to see that, there's no how you could have imagined the 10 years that we are celebrating today. And so, for me, I'm super happy looking back at how it all started. For me, it's something that first I'm happy to be alive to even see the 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that it also somehow coincides with Sheung's birthday.
Happy
so,
birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
And my birthday also is in 2 weeks.
So triple celebration.
So somehow it's that kind of feeling that somebody was telling me that, Joseph, when I was watching you on channels, something just, I just had this feeling that we always think of building legacy, something that happens later, maybe when you have died, and all of that. But we are literally, by the little work we have done with BudgIT, we are literally living, our legacy. We are doing something that is worth celebrating, even in a lifetime. And still being in our 30s is something that we're very grateful to God for. We're very grateful to God for, and I'm happy for the level of impact we've made, so far.
All right, let me just say congratulations to the both of you. It's a marvelous feat. And I'm sure that our listeners right now, their ears are all itching. It's going to be a fantastic episode, so let's just delve into it. So now we're going to start with you, Joseph, right? Now let's look at how is BudgIT leading the way, for young people to engage with government using new technology and social engagement tools.
Yes, so these are, when you look at what we are in now since 1999, democratic government, it is the government of the people. We always fail to understand, to put that into perspective. That is the government of the people. It is not about an individual in government who is holding an office. It's first of all the government of the people. And so we are happy to have, somehow, I wouldn't say pioneered, but to have created some sort of platform for people to see that you can actually be a government yourself. You can demand, civic responsibility for every single person, not just people in government, but for even people around you. When you look at our form of engagement, going to communities to engage people, is a form of governance. And so we are very happy that we have, been able to create a platform like this. It wasn't like we all had it figured out. But, we felt that the citizens should know what the government is doing with their money, which is now the other people. So government of the people, by the people, for the people. Yes. So we are saying that, see, this thing that we have appointed, you are supposed to do it for the people. And so people who understand that they are government going to demand from the people whom they have elected. So we are basically creating what we call active citizens, or that's what we have created. And if you ask me what's our next 10 years going to look like, it's a situation where we would have gone beyond 20-40 million we have just reached in these first 10 years to over 200 million Nigerians themselves becoming active citizens.
So, when we talk about budget, we talk about technology innovation and social impact. Now, let's bring this over to you, Oluseun. What is the intersectionality? How would you marry both of them, technology innovation and social impact?
I mean, the society that we have has social issues.
Okay.
And technology is meant to either ease things or to simplify things or to make things cheaper. Technology in the end is a tool. And definitely, you cannot build technology that is divorced from the contextual issues in society. So if the issue is hunger, if the issue is bad governance, if the issue is poor infrastructure, definitely your technology will be wired around that. So you find the much more developed societies, they're more concerned about maybe cloud engineering, social networking, and things like that, just because it speaks more to the context that they exist. And I guess we have to give a lot of respect to co-creation hub, but that foresight to understand that at the beginning, our fundamental issues are from the policy and the governance perspective, and they were going to build organizations or support organizations that can work around that space. So definitely technology will accelerate social impact because it's going to bring information closer to the people. It's going to make it easier for people to engage their government. It's going to shorten the distance between the people and their government. It's also going to clarify things that looks easy and difficult to the people. Technology is also going to make sure ensure that it will foster participation, make participation cheaper. I might need to write a letter to my chairman of my local government. Now I can tweet at him from the comfort of my living room.
Yes.
So these are the kind of things that technology do. And gradually, when you're able to foster participation and entrench what you call the social contract in a democracy, which means people that work in government or people in government and citizens are bound by contract. I put you in public office. You are responsible to ensuring that public resources are held in trust and efficiently managed. And you're accountable to me. And if I can exercise my power to recall you at every point and strip you of that legitimacy if necessary. So reinforcing that social contract is what technology can make much more easier and give us more the impact that we seek. Yeah.
All right. So, if still on technology, right? How can we scale the tech ecosystem? Because technology is what bettered budget. So how can we scale it as a bedrock for social change in the country?
And I know Joseph will have better answers than me.
So
But let me start. Okay. To be honest, we need to be fearless and to boldly support champions. Not to be fearful of new ideas. BudgIT, when it started in 2011, sounded like something new. I am always very humble to say people have been discussing budget matters before budget. It's not like we were the one that were the pioneer of budget analysis. If I want to talk about project tracking, let me reclaim Nigeria. I've been tracking public projects since early 2000s, late 90s. And I've seen Ford Foundation had funded governance programs since the mid 90s. It's been there for a while. We use technology, we use creative design to make it much more easier. Yes, we've been able to push that forward. But what we need, it sounded like a new idea, it sounded like a bold idea. And so and people backed us. Like Gates Foundation, Open Society, MacArthur, Ford Foundation, Oxfam, SIWA. Many people backed us, Indigo Trust, co-creation of EI in Nigeria, Partners Global. A lot of people backed us. Now they give life to that idea, validation. We're able to scale. And that's one of the things. We must receive new ideas. Because the NSAS has told us something. It tells us something. Young Nigerians want to participate more. And new ideas will emerge from that space. We must be bold enough to support them. And I think that's, for me, what we need to do. The second thing we need to do is also being able to ease the environment to make them thrive. Being able to help them out, navigate the policy space. Nigeria can kill great ideas if we don't have a bit of support and covering for it. I will leave the rest for Joseph.
Yeah. So another side, so I would say number 3 to that point is the place of capacity development. So there's a lot of work we can do. One of the things that helped us was the fact that we're a CC Hub, and there were a lot of people with diverse skills, technology skills at that time, who also volunteered that time.
Okay.
And so thinking about scaling the work of civil society using technology, one thing we can do is to scale capacity development. We need to get more people to be able to build technology. We are still at, even though there's a lot of progress that has been made in Nigeria, for example, we are still at its early stages. Because you look at things like open source platforms, technologies, it's just very few that has come out of Nigeria. And that is an aspect of civic tech. Because when you look at Ushahidi, these were like great guys at the beginning. What's the name of Oriokolo?
Yeah,
that was a major entry point into this space. Oriokolo in Kenya, which is also one of the person who has given us a lot of support at BudgIT. So we need people to start developing tools. Sheon talked about the other day on channels. He talked about people reporting bad roads, fixes via app and all that. Those are tools that people can build as open source technology. And the only way you have that is you have a lot of people who have skills beyond just trying to build website to make money. You're now beginning to see that the tool that is in my hand can also fix governance, can fix issues, social issues and all that. So if we support more capacity development, getting more people to be handy, let them be very, very skilled professionally, we would have actually started laying the foundation for scaling our work using technology.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's move over to social media. Social media has played a major role.
Absolutely.
I can say that, to the success of BudgIT. So how crucial, now this is for you, how crucial was the emergence and growth of social media in Nigeria, especially Twitter, to the success of BudgIT story?
Yeah, thanks so much, Nancy. And I'm always clear about the fact that, not myself, but studies say there are no new ideas, that every idea is a combination of an old idea or a combination of several old ideas. So when you look at BudgIT, you see that if we were not in a democracy, it wouldn't have happened. If we didn't have social media, it wouldn't have scaled.
Yeah.
If the budget was not available because it's backed by legislation, it wouldn't have happened. So there is several, and if there were not people there, if the space was not opened up for institutional funders and donors, it might possibly not have happened. So no matter how much ideas that we have, that we're combining all the ideas together, and we still need an environment for it to fertilize. And the key ingredient of that work is social media. In the very early stage, it was difficult to navigate. I was not a social media person like that, but Twitter was in its infancy and it was taking roots in Nigeria, and it became that melting point of intellectual debates and conversations.
Yeah.
And we came in, and in the early stage when we came in, what we did was to do a lot of fact checking in the early stage. So we wanted to know GDP of Nigeria, so go ask BudgIT. People thought we had a ton of data, but to be honest with you, Google was my friend. I was always quickly using it and giving people answers and things like that. And we tried our best. So it quietly became like the de facto space for fact checking and giving people clear answers. Then gradually, we had this fortune of Occupy Nigeria that happened. That gave us the budget cut app and gave us that scale, because we moved, we breezed past CC of social media numbers, and we became like, wow, BudgIT is now huge. And then gradually we built narrative. One thing I know about social media is it's been a force for change. We've gotten fortune of social media by engaging government. I don't mean money, by engaging government, getting results, openness, hold government accountable. We've gotten the presidency to respond, we've gotten state governments to respond. We've shown people a clear route of how you can show your anger at the government, and how you can do that on the basis of facts and not just emotion. A lot of people ask, BudgIT, we'll be surprised that you have not been harassed over the years. I tell them, it's because we just stay with the facts. We don't manufacture facts. We don't manufacture narratives. We stay with the fact. We might be a bit emotional about a narrative, yes, because we are people. We're not robots. But the reality is that we stay on the fact that is provided by government, and we interrogate that is this accurate? Is this comprehensive? Is this actionable? Is this timely? We still have to fact check and query those institutions in those conversations. So for me, that's the way I've seen social media. We can't run away from the fact that it's been abused. And fake news, character assassination, trolling, and we've seen that even in BudgIT, we've faced that over the years. People, said all sorts, even left all the lines and crossed every single line, just because we are a critical voice against the government. but we are undeterred. Something someone told. I remember something that happened to me when I was in Columbia University. I think we had a big issue, one of the biggest issues we had. I think maybe there was a misinterpretation of our data, an extractive document.
Okay, yes.
And the one special advisor to the president, Oluseun, was going on and on attacking us, trying to create an invitation for trolls to continuously attack budgets. And it was really a hot mess. And I think we did something wrong. We wrote a press statement, we blasted him, and we did all that stuff. And I was even worried about how people now went hard against us. Our Twitter handle was so filled with bile and anger and from different points. Someone called me, and someone looked at me, and she said something like, "Sean, why are you worried about budgets? Budget is an institution. It's not going to, because of a social media troll, it's not going to die because of that. It's not going away because of that." Yeah. Like, say, picture the way you picture First Bank that you worked. That's the same way you picture budget. It is not going to be a continuous trolling or some people saying fallacious or wrong things about budget. Therefore, take the organization. You have built an institution. And I think that when all these social media anger things happen, and we make errors too. I won't say we have been squeaky clean about things, but when those things happen and people don't take comfort that the fact that we could be wrong or they try to harass us, I think on the fact that our social media is an outlet for us to have a conversation. There's several places where we also do these things, and so but I take all the good. And I know a lot of people are trying to morph for it. We are in this difficult time where Twitter has been banned technically, and we're struggling even to have conversation with that environment, and it's become a critical voice against government. And the government fears that, but we have to be unrelenting. I think I've taken more time than necessary.
All right. Thank you so much. Great institution you have here, a budget. So now let's talk about, I want to say the main. Without it, I don't think. Now let's talk about funds, the money, the cocoa, because we have many young people that have great ideas, right? But then funds just have a way to do with sustainability, taking it further. The idea is great, but without the funds, I don't really know how that will work. So now, how can young people build sustainable initiative and social enterprises? Talking about funds and sustainability.
So interestingly, funding and sustainability, you don't mix them that way.
Okay.
Even when people think that it is funding, it is always about being able to build a model. So currently, I coach a city, the city of Freetown, our Mayor's Challenge by Bloomberg Philanthropy. And one of the things we're doing is we're creating a solution on sustainability beyond just trying to look for people that will give us grants.
Yeah.
It is, people are planting trees. This is the problem we're trying to solve, is about using trees, planting trees. And guess what? We're able to crack a way to generate money beyond just donors giving them money to pay the people who are planting the trees.
Wow.
Through innovative thinking. There are a lot of, formulas, a lot of ways you can actually build and design sustainability around your business. And for BudgIT, it is not, people think that it's just because we get grants, that's why we've been able to sustain ourselves. But not exactly true. One of the things that has happened here is that we've been able to come and carve our own design, or what I call our own business model. Because there are times where you get, donors gives us money, and it's just for programs. It gives us money for 6 months. They don't really care whether you're paying staff salary beyond that time, or whether you're paying rent and all that. So you have to internally be able to figure out, based on your operation, how do you create sustainability?
Okay.
There are theoretical principles. I'm a designer. I teach design thinking, and we teach how do you even take a problem and how do you solve a problem in a very sustainable way. And so over the years, we have been able to do that, transitioning from one donor to another donor, or being able to even get a donor who gives you money and they have it well clearly stated that they don't fund you more than once. How I've been able to get them to fund us more than once, over and over again. So those are the things that I think people should try to learn. So I'll give you a few ideas. One of the things that we did when we started is the fact that when we raise money, donors want to know how you spend their money. You need as much as possible to report every single details. And there are ways you do those things. Most of them sometimes give you those what's it called, templates, how they want you to report it. It's not time for you to go and buy a house or buy a car or do something. This is donor money that is targeted at solving problems. So you have to, as much as possible, as a young person who is looking to raise money, ensure that you are very transparent. You have to be accountable about the money they are giving you.
Yeah.
Another thing you need to learn is designing a structure, having passion, personal passion about the problem they're trying to solve. If you are not passionate about it, maybe you just see that a donor is funding HIV/AIDS, and because of that, you suddenly created a not-for-profit for HIV/AIDS. What happens when that donor is not funding again? Or what happens when there is no even conversation about HIV/AIDS anymore? Are you just doing HIV/AIDS, or you are concerned about the health of the people? So those are the parameters, those are the things that we bring together to design and create a sustainable, not-for-profit beyond the funding. And then, lastly, about trying to raise funding. Yes, I know that is what everybody's expecting to hear. Most donors, they focus. People always wonder, why is it that they've applied for 100 funding and none of this is coming through? Why some people just apply for the first one and they're able to raise the money?
Yeah.
Yes. And one of the things we've learned over the years is that donors always state the type of thematic area or the vertical they are focusing on, they are funding on, and you have to find the right donor for the kind of problem you're solving. That is one. But what happens in a situation where you can't really find a donor that matches that idea? I know Shehu might be able to speak to that very well. But let me just give you a simple tip. One of the tips is that let's say you're doing capacity development.
Okay.
But the donor funding is towards health. So how about you are able to design your program around capacity development in health,
Okay.
so that it can appeal to them. So those are the strategies that you put in place. It's not just straight jacket. Say, oh, this is what I want to do. I've met a lot of people. They are so rigid about
They are
their
not going
idea.
anywhere. It's that one.
But the mistake we always make is that the problem is not about us. We are not solving the problem for ourselves. We are solving the problem for the people. It must be human-centered. And if you put the people forward, it becomes a lot easier for you to design the program to attract the right donor and the right funding for it.
All right, thank you. So, Sheung, is civic tech and engagement enough? That's the question. There's a question mark there. You're answering it direct to me now.
Civic tech and engagement enough. And I want to, sorry if I go back to funding just a
little bit.
Because a lot of people get worried about that, and I think we also got worried in the very early stage.
Okay.
What I just tell people is invest in relationships. Invest in relationships. A lot of us were chasing money, we're not chasing relationships. And you want to raise money, you just knock the door of the donor and you think you're just working, just give you the money. No, it doesn't work that way. You show value over a period of time, you allow it compound, then you now build a relationship that naturally leads to a funding opportunity. That's something that's guided. That's why most of the donors, either Ford has funded us 3 times, Gate has funded us twice, Siwa has funded us 7 times.
Same.
MacArthur has funded us 3 times. Illuminate has funded us 3 times. So you could see that we've deliberately, and not just because we delivered value, we also built relationships with these organizations and make sure that we tell the stories of impact that we've gotten over the years. Tell the stories, invest in it. But we can have a master class of funding because it looks like people feel like I'm an expert on it. I think I'm close. But most importantly, you talked about it's not enough. Civic engagement is not enough.
That's not even the question. There's a follow-up to that. After asking is civic tech and engagement enough, the follow-up is at what point would BudgIT cross, into active political platforms?
It will not happen. Let's be honest. It will not happen when they can cross into active political platform, which I wish, because the work of BudgIT, the work of civic organizations, and I had this scare. I went to join government. People were worried. Are we crossing over? Is that the final emasculation of BudgIT? But reality is that we need gatekeepers in a democratic space. And people who must have the credibility and intentionality to speak the fact as it should be. And they are what we call the guardrails of a democracy: press, civil society, professional institutions, pressure groups. They must exist in a democracy. And when you have an erosion of the space that they were, this is Amara Wakwa that made this conversation that in a democracy there's a space. There's a part of the space that's held by the government. There's a space that is held by the citizens. The space held by the citizens is protected by the media and the civil society. Now, government does not have a right to encroach into that space. And if that happens, then definitely it's no longer a democracy. We must protect that space. And that's the way the work that BudgIT does speaks to. We might help in terms of public policy practice or advisory might happen in the future. Or maybe the way we're doing right now is that we're doing a dual structure. We hold government accountable, but at the back end, in some way, we also provide capacity support.
Yeah.
So maybe NAET, NIPC, Kaduna State Government, Enugu State Government, and Kogi State Government. We've supported a lot of states, building the capacity. It doesn't mean that when we see things going bad, we don't talk about it. But also, you look at how do you keep that balance going forward. But one thing we're thinking clearly is maybe a special public policy practice dedicated to supporting government.
Okay.
And they have that trust within the system for that improvement. Maybe it's part of our strategy plan for the next 10 years. But one thing I'm certain is that civic engagement should lead. The bedrock is transparency. You should be transparent because that should be given a democracy. You should engage on the basis of transparent information you have. You should have an accountability as a response to that. People are giving feedback. Then there should be a close feedback loop. That means I'm talking, you are listening. And so as you're talking, I'm also listening. We are having that constant conversation. And that's how democracy should exist. And we also protect that space is what BudgIT will permanently do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speaking about civil society organization, right? So what is it, like the CSOs right now, what is the CSO ecosystem missing? What are they missing regarding connecting and mobilizing people for social change? Joseph.
That question is very loaded. Can you speak to that?
I mean, it's loaded, but I feel, and you will also speak to it, but I feel we're missing many things. One, we're missing the rapid adoption of technology to reach out to a new, sophisticated audience. So whatever happened in the Gen Z, the same way it took the government unawares, it's the same way it took the traditional civil society unawares. We're not. There's a new space that is bubbling, and we're not talking to them in their own language. And there is a need for the civil society to have a lot of reflection about how it wants to approach that space. I feel, and that means we do technology, we do narrative building. If you listen to some of these, the conversations during that protest, Buhari has been a bad boy. And people said he didn't say that out of disrespect. It was no casual conversation. We've not been able to know how to apply arts, music, this skit environment, this casual conversation structure. We're still looking a bit too technical, and we have not been able to pass our message across to that new sophisticated conversation. And I think that's something we're also missing proximity. Because it's civil society and donor funding, and there's a tendency that we are just strapped in our high-flying environment, Maitama, Sokoro, Yaba, Ikoyi, but that's not the real Nigeria. There's a need for us to be more proximate to the real state of, and the real state of Nigeria is still grassroots, poorly educated, poorly invested in, semi-urban groups. We need to be more proximate to these groups. That's why we did Tracker. We could have stood with infographics, design, social media space, and that was enough to even talk about. But we need dealing with that space. We are still not talking to the largest constituency of Nigeria. So in a way, I think the civil society also needs a bit of reflection on proximity. Then we need new champions. Yeah. We cannot lie to ourselves. We're 10 years now. So in another 5 years, we ourselves have to find a way to. Not the organization leaves, but leave the space, take the back seat to new leaders that can speak, that can be the voice of the new generation. And I think that's something we are missing. After BudgIT, how many civic tech organizations have grown to the stature of BudgIT? And I struggle to find. Maybe BudgIT could. After code, I always still struggle to find someone that's grown of that stage. And I think there has to be, and I'm happy that there's a new $5 million fund that MacArthur Foundation and Ford Foundation is coming together for Leap Africa to invest in new civic tech initiatives led by the next generation. I'm open to see that we have new budgets, because the work that we do in budget, the issues we speak to are systemic. Budget alone cannot resolve it.
Yeah.
So we need more voices in the room that's speaking at the same time in trust. I think that I will leave it at that. I don't want to get into trouble.
I'll add a little bit to that. The fact that we were running not for profit, or I mean, let's call it CSO, doesn't mean that we just dance to the tune of whoever it is that is giving us money. What happens most of the time is that because of the funding comes in programs. After the program, so you've got 20 people working with you. After the program, you discard them, and then the next program, maybe 2 years later, you are looking for people. So often you don't have capacity. You now start looking for how do you train capacity, who will work with you, and all of that. So I think we need to change the attitude into that of creating an organization. We should, when you work as a not-for-profit, you shouldn't just see it as, oh, it's the fun thing, like a garbage in, garbage out sort of thing. But building something that there are people who also work in the civil society. They are human beings. They also want salaries. They have, they want pension. They want, build an organization out of whatever it is you're trying to solve, and start thinking of scale. Don't tie your life to whether you get money or not. I can categorically tell you that at the point where budget has gotten to, we are evolving every day. We're not just thinking about money that we're going to get. We've been running Civic at least for the last 4 years now, and we've basically been funding this internally. Just maybe 1 or 2 times we've gotten some support. And we're not just thinking about just running the organization. We are thinking of supporting other people. Citizen Gavo came out of it.
Yeah.
That is one great potential. And they're not the only one. There's Constitution Lab. Constitution Lab just got some money, to do PVC drive, towards the 2023 election.
Yeah.
And a couple of them, some of them struggle, after they left the whole program. And that is why we have redesigned our Civic High program. So with the next expectation, I can assure you that almost everybody that's going to come out of our next program, we will expect, massive success, because we're not just going to be teaching them how to, to design a new civic tech startup. We're also going to be teaching them what I call the budget secret sauce. How do you go from,
0 to 100?
From 0 to 100,
Yes.
So I think those are the things. When you have like Big Brother holding your hand through the journey, you tend to do well. You always need someone to introduce you to someone in their network. And that is it. She won't talk about relationship. I tell you, I think that is one of the biggest things that we have at BudgIT. And yes,
you're right. And I think also, sorry to cut in again, that new CSOs have become general purpose vehicles. And I'm sorry, we want to do everything. And I really want a reflection on the space where we focus. I mean, I'm not saying that budget does not do a lot. I mean, but you see us, we still focus on the fiscal space, transparency and accountability. We're not trying to do HIV/AIDS. We're not trying to do gender-based violence. We're not trying to
take all the SDGs.
We're not trying to educate young women on the technology. We're focused on the space where we are. And I think the problem I have with civil society is also that everybody, takes a nomenclature that is general, and anything that any donor offers, we are there. And at the end of the day, you are in a community like Tracker. You started, and that's why where we've run Tracker Money, which all thanks to Luminate, that's given us that back fund, that sustainable fund over time. You're in a community in 6 months. You say it's a 6 months program, and in 6 months the project is not concluded. The project is not delivered. So do you abandon the communities because you say, oh, the funding has ended? We also, as a civil society, we have to be taken in a systemic manner. I mean, there's a whole lot to go around, but I feel being more single issue. We can have multi-purpose vehicles as coalition, but civil society, we have to start dedicating our programming into single issue, single thematic areas, not just being not everywhere. It's confusing the people, and it's not even making our impact to be sustained over time.
Thank you so much for that. I know both of you are busy men, busy men. So I'm just going to let you go shortly. So after transparency, right? What next? Because at some point, the drive is transparency and accountability, and one day the battle will be won. So where do you see yourself after that battle has been won?
I think it's a luta continua. I think that for me is where I say it never gets to that point.
Okay.
You know, you are talking of perfection. Perfection is when we actually leave this earth. There are always social issues to be solved, and you know, the ultimate goal is not just accountability and transparency and accountability. It is actually creating an active citizen. Nigerians who are able to demand, you know, for you know, that the government, people they have elected, you know, do the right thing. That is one part. There's also the part where even citizens themselves are able to take responsibilities. You know, why should you eat stuff on the road and dump it
Yes.
on the road? Why can't you take civic responsibility? So if you are thinking about how government spend their money, and you are not thinking that it's because you are careless, government is spending more money on paying people to clean the road, you're not taking such responsibility. So you see the whole dynamic around what it is for what we're doing. So it's about building active citizens. It's about building people who by themselves become responsible. I mean, look at over the last 10 years, we've only reached about, I know the number varies, but my own number is 40 million or more. You know, about a quarter of the citizens, or about 20%.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that there's still a lot of work to be done, where people become so aware, where BudgIT does no longer need to tell people that this is what you should be asking the government. They themselves know that, see, when you are a public office holder, you should be accountable. They can demand that from you. But I believe that there's a whole lot more. You know, your question is, when Nigeria is ridden of corruption and everything is, what will we be doing? I think she will answer that hard question.
I mean, transparency. What next? Two things. I saw one thing about even our own stride. We're saying we've done work in the last 10 years as quality of life improved in Nigeria, standard of living improved. So even ourselves, we're asking ourselves, after transparency, we need to look beyond that. We need to look at quality of life of Nigeria. We need to start being invested in around that too. We need to connect our work into how we're changing lives and how we're improving lives. So that's one next. The second thing is the work never stops. But my wish is that one day we stop existing. I mean, as BudgIT, and I'm being honest about this, which means we fulfill all our conditions of existence. Nigerians, on their self-enlightened interest, hold government accountable. The government is responsive to them, and resources meant for the public are efficiently managed for the good of the people. That means if government has 10 naira to spend, it thinks first about that, how does this benefit the good of the people? You know, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And we have people being able to hold them accountable. And the society is much more prosperous and it's much more progressive. I mean, at that point, you feel, but that looks utopia. That looks like a far-reach dream. But I mean, at that point, I mean, what action are you pushing against? You should rest. Because I have NGOs in the US, I know, there's Sunlight Foundation. Said we have not fulfilled our mission, but we think at this point we should rest. And they closed the shop. So I mean, there's no perpetuity in civic issues. We hope that one day comes to we resolve the conundrum of Nigeria. But we know that that's a long journey, and we are hopefully approaching. I wrote an article on this day back page, and I guess everyone should read it, about milestone lessons. I said my first point is that we have been able to mix patience with courage. You know, being able to understand that the work would take time to really fruit, and we also being able to approach it, to work boldly and with courage. Thank you very much, Nas.
Thank you so much, Sheung. Thank you, Joseph. I mean, this is a good place to draw the curtain if you're in drama. It's been a pleasure actually hosting both of you. Congratulations once again. And to our listeners, don't forget to share, like, and keep your comments coming. On Facebook, it's BudgIT. On Twitter, it's BudgIT. And on Instagram, it's also BudgIT. My name is Nancy. Until next time, do have a fabulous day.